As questions swirl over the fate of Trump's ceasefire, is Tehran now signaling that the Iran war is far from over by boasting its armed forces are stronger than ever before? With Trump's ceasefire deal hanging by a thread, is Iran firing its biggest warning yet that any new threat or attack will be met with a punishing response? Mojtaba's aide issued a chilling warning for Iran's enemies to stop viewing Iran as an easy target. Is Tehran now trying to tell the world it is ready for both peace and war, as its top diplomat talks about wanting calm while insisting Iran can keep fighting? Amid mounting tensions around a fragile ceasefire, Tehran has issued a fresh warning that any threat or attack on Iranian soil will be answered with force. On June 3, Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf warned that Iran is no longer an easy target, arguing that recent battles have changed the balance with its enemies. Ghalibaf declared that Iran's ability to confront what he called two U.S.-Israeli wars proves the country can deliver harsh replies whenever it is attacked. He stressed that recent clashes have shown Iran will never bow to pressure from its foes, but will instead push back whenever it feels bullied or threatened. Ghalibaf said, and I quote, "Imam Khomeini taught the Iranian nation not to retreat in the face of bullying and domination. Any aggression will be met with a decisive, regretful, and proportionate response." Unquote. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister insisted that Tehran has never sought war and still wants peace, even as he spoke against the backdrop of an ongoing confrontation. Speaking to Al-Mayadeen, Abbas Araghchi said Tehran remains prepared to continue the war if necessary, signaling that Iran will not stop fighting just because talks have begun. Araghchi stressed that Iran's military position is now even stronger than before the war, claiming that the conflict has hardened, not weakened, its armed forces. The foreign minister said Iran maintained its military production lines throughout what he called U.S.-Israeli aggression, keeping missiles, drones and other systems rolling out despite strikes. He argued that Iran's adversaries were unable to stop its defense industry during the conflict, presenting this as proof that sanctions and airstrikes have failed to break its capabilities. This latest warning from both political and diplomatic leaders comes as tensions between the US and Iran rise again, and ceasefire talks stall without a clear path to a final deal. The Iranian Navy says that on June 3 it targeted the command and control systems aboard a US destroyer, striking at what it describes as the ship's brain in Gulf waters. Tehran insists the strike was a direct response to what it calls aggressive US measures against Iranian commercial shipping, accusing Washington of harassment at sea. This development was announced in an official statement issued by Iran's Army Public Relations Office, giving the claim the stamp of formal military approval. According to that statement, the US destroyer was attempting to enter Iranian waters, a move Tehran frames as a clear violation of its sovereignty and red lines. However, US Central Command has flatly denied Iran's account, rejecting the claim that any US Navy destroyer was hit or successfully targeted. CENTCOM went so far as to say Iran is lying, insisting that American assets at sea are operating freely and without damage despite Tehran's statements. Iran's statement said, and I quote, "A few hours ago, following aggressive actions, violations of the regulations governing the Strait of Hormuz, and hostile acts against Iranian commercial vessels in the Sea of Oman, by the terrorist and aggressive US military, the Navy, immediately upon detecting and identifying the source of those actions, targeted the command and control center responsible for them." End quote. Meanwhile, eyewitnesses inside Iran reported hearing the sounds of explosions and active air defenses, according to Iran International, suggesting something significant was unfolding in the skies. Residents in eastern Tehran described the distinct thud of air defense fire and then a single, loud explosion around 8:45 p.m., sending people rushing to their windows and balconies. Similar air defense sounds were reported from Karaj and Urmia, while blasts were heard near Bojnord Airport, pointing to a wider pattern of aerial activity across multiple Iranian cities. Iran stressed that its navy is closely monitoring what it calls a criminal and aggressive enemy presence, keeping constant watch on US movements in the region. The statement warns that the Navy will respond to any hostile act in the shortest possible time, signaling readiness for rapid retaliation if it feels provoked. Tehran further vowed that its forces will exact revenge in the harshest manner for the blood of the sailors of the destroyer Dina, framing its actions as avenging fallen martyrs. This latest claimed attack comes after both Tehran and Washington exchanged fire under the shadow of a fragile ceasefire, raising fears that the truce is rapidly unraveling in the Gulf. At least one person has been killed in the devastating aftermath of Iran's deadly strikes on Kuwait. Kuwaiti authorities also alleged that multiple people sustained injuries following Iran's drone attacks. With the international airport suffering significant damage, Kuwait has suspended all commercial flight operations. Airport operations in Kuwait are reportedly expected to remain halted until further notice from authorities. The airport had only reopened for normal operations on June 1st before the strikes took place. Kuwait's Ministry of Defense confirmed that Iran launched multiple hostile drones during its June 3rd attack. According to Kuwait's Ministry of Defense, Iran fired 13 ballistic missiles and 17 drones during the assault. Gulf allies have now come out strongly against Iran following attacks on Bahrain and Kuwait. The Gulf Cooperation Council released a statement on June 3 condemning what it called ongoing aggression. The GCC reportedly accused Iran of carrying out cowardly attacks against civilians in Bahrain and Kuwait. GCC Secretary-General Jassim Mohammed al-Budaiwi also accused Iran of hostile actions against Gulf nations. The statement further alleged that Iran's attacks amounted to violations of international law and accepted norms. Al-Budaiwi also urged the international community to take a firm stand and end Iran's aggression. The Gulf Council Secretary-General said, and I quote, "The attacks reflect the Iranian regime's insistence on pursuing rejected hostile policies targeting the security, stability, and sovereignty of the member states. Iran is in violation of international law, the United Nations Charter, and all international norms, stressing that this requires a firm international stance to put an end to these dangerous Iranian aggressive practices. We underscored that the security of the Kingdom of Bahrain and the State of Kuwait is an integral part of the security of the GCC states, and that the Cooperation Council states stand united in confronting these attacks and fully support all measures and procedures taken by the two countries to defend their security, sovereignty, and territorial integrity." End quote. On June 3rd, the United States and Iran exchanged missile strikes across the region despite a fragile ceasefire. American bases in Kuwait and Bahrain came under fire following U.S. self-defense strikes against Iran. Press TV's report said, and I quote, "Iran's IRGC announced that it struck a U.S. military airbase and the U.S. Fifth Fleet's headquarters with missiles and drones in retaliation for American attacks." The IRGC said a U.S. warplane first hit an Iranian tanker near the Strait of Hormuz late last night, causing engine room damage. In response, the IRGC targeted a U.S.-affiliated vessel named Panaya with naval missiles. After a subsequent U.S. strike on an IRGC telecom tower on Keshem Island, the IRGC Aerospace Force attacked a U.S. air and helicopter base in a regional country as well as the Fifth Fleet's command center. The IRGC warned that any violation of security in the Strait of Hormuz would bring a harsh price for the U.S. military, unquote. Iran has reportedly stopped communicating with mediators regarding a possible extension of the ceasefire.